bald guys with ranch and rhyme. Two bald guys with ranch and rhyme. Two bald guys with ranch and rhyme.
I love when your Monday morning time to rise and shine. Want some motivation? Well, I know a few guys with the internet connection. 216 is on. Tune in. The two bald guys with ranch and rhyme. Introducing Coach Papa Tim Stewart's his name. He's a master with the pen in the poetry game. He wants to see a better world and he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast, but he can stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's the man Ken Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. Whether hosting or he's hooping, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding the hungry herd around the world. With timely observation, dropping nuggets and pearls. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the farm.
Good morning, welcome in, of course, Monday morning, right here with two bald guys. Financial support of our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com. You need a massage, you need to just relax, get rid of some stress, or heck, just feel better.
Just talk to a good guy, John Peterson and his crew over there have really put together a good program. I know my wife just absolutely, when she goes over there and visits, when she comes home, she's a different woman. So.
That's it. Of course, she is 6'2".
No. Brunette.
That's right. It's odd when she leaves.
Wow,
she's
John,
hot.
good job.
Talk about stress. Of course, give a call, 815-385-8190, our longest and most friendliest sponsor that we've had here at 216. And, of course, two bald guys and a microphone. We are in, this must be part number, is it 4? Part number 4 of Leadership.
Leadership.
Great show last week, of course, as I'm drinking this delicious coffee water. Dennis Mellon, thanks for being here last week. Great to have you. Be a bean. Be a bean.
He's welcome anytime.
Yeah.
That guy's got wealth of knowledge when it comes to leadership.
What a great show. If you missed that episode, run back and check it out. Absolutely great. We're talking about leadership. We've talked about a lot of things, the fallacy of leadership. We've talked what leadership is. We came to a definition that leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal for good. Now, what we wanted to do coming out of last week was how to manage multi-generation. And, hey, it's so crazy because so many people, Coach, think that this is a new concept. And truly it's not, right?
No, even the family farm growing up, we had, Grandpa, Dad, the kids, the grandkids, as we started growing, showing up. There's always been multiple generations interacting and working together. And I know I absolutely loved working with my grandfather when we were out there because I learned so much from him. And I think sometimes today's generations get lost on this. They don't take the time to learn from one another. But, coaching for so many years, I found out that I always learn more from my young athletes than I did from a lot of my elders. So getting that communication between the multi-generation, I think, is one of the biggest things a leader needs to accomplish when working with, boomers down to what I don't know what the current generation's even called.
Kids.
Kids.
All right, so in our definition, leadership is a process, not a person. Is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal for good. So let's talk about that. You've been in leadership in the military. You've been in leadership as a coaching, as an athlete. Servant leadership in churches, things like that. Let's talk about maximizing the efforts of others. Can it truly be done?
You can inspire others, but to maximize that effort, that's up to them. But if you've done your job as a leader, then they do their job very well. An example in the National Guard as a company commander.
Yeah.
I had people from all walks of life. I had lawyers, I had waiters. When I had commanded the Elgin National Guard unit, I had 4 or 5 people worked at the casinos right there. But when they got in uniform and they came out, they were incredible people. They all came together and they were just soldiers. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But it was all about the way you led. When I took over the Elgin National Guard unit, the first thing I did on the first leadership meeting from my lieutenants, sergeants down to my squad leaders, was let's take a moment and pray. And they all kind of looked at me, well, we've never done that before. I said, well, you've never had me here before.
That's what you're praying for, people.
Every day started with a handshake or a hug. It started with communicating and getting to know each other. And when we did that, when we took the time to build relationships, they performed at their highest level all the time. Well, I just came out with a series of tasks. Sometimes I got done, sometimes I didn't.
There you go. So how do you? How do you maximize? Because we said leadership maximizes the efforts of others.
First of all, you have to get to know what the gifts of your people are. If you're in a leadership role, and you've got, I had a Giovanni. Giovanni was just this incredible, happy guy. He was a very, one of my top producers in the wire backing area when I was production foreman at Far Company in Crystal Lake. And when I sat down and got to know him, he was from Guatemala originally, and he was a teacher in Guatemala. And with people dying for Spanish-speaking teachers, especially in the Elgin area, I sat down, had a conversation with him, and within 3 years, we had him back in the teaching ranks, which is what he really loved to do. But in that 3-year process of getting his degrees and everything ready to go back into teaching, he was just absolutely the best performing employee I think I've ever had.
All right.
Because I took the time to know him and encourage him to be who he was. I didn't try to make people, I didn't try to fit square pegs in round holes.
Okay. So we've got Lisa on. Of course, you'll all remember Lisa from Lisa's Changing Perceptions. Ran here for several years. She's back in the think tank, and we may be having a new show with her, which I'm excited about.
That'd be awesome.
And of course, we've got Ted Legal, who Legal Legacy Home and Business, who is a quote-unquote leader as well. And I use the air quotes because we're talking about leadership. Not that I don't think he's not. So we have the issue of maximize the efforts of others. Explain to me, anybody out there, you coach, whatever,
Or you.
explain to me if you were leading me, what's my maximum effort?
I'd fire you at a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's about it, folks. I've maxed out. Here.
I would encourage you to come in and talk about how your basketball team did last night, how your things are going in your backyard, your man cave. I would get you to talk about a little bit, just for a few minutes in the morning, about what's going on in your world, and then I'd share with you what's going on in my world a little bit, so to keep that transparency, because leaders, quite often managers, build a wall between themselves and their people. But when you take that wall down, and when there was a task, and I've got a few minutes to assist you with the task, I'm going to come down and work with you. I'm not going to give you a set of commands and then run away. The secret to getting people to perform their best is treat them like the unique individuals they are. I walked into the Chamber of Commerce one day and I wanted a cup of coffee, and they were having a meeting, and I tried to slide around the side so I didn't really interrupt the meeting, but I wanted a cup of coffee and go up and meet with Kay on that particular day. And as I walked in, there's this gasp from the back side of the table. If you remember how the table used to be set, it wasn't easy to get out when other people were sitting around. But this young lady just stood up and fought her way around and came out and gave me a huge hug. It was Sylvia, one of my employees from 10 years earlier. And the relationship that I had with my employees was all defined in that moment, because after 10 years, she was so pleased to see me that she got up out of the meeting and came over to give me a hug and let me know what's going on. We reconnected over coffee. She was working for an accounting firm at that time. But when you can connect with your people, and I know I watch you do this all the time, because when you connect at a higher level, you don't really have to lead them. You just got to give them an opportunity to get out and do their job.
Yeah, and that's a good way to connect with people, to get them on your side. But how do you know when you've maximized their efforts? I mean, truth be told is there's no way that you can maximize the efforts of others, because you don't know what their maximum effort is. Is that fair to say?
Sure, you can just give them every opportunity. You give them all the tools they need. You give them and you treat them with respect. But can you maximize? You can check it. You can look at all the metrics. Are they producing this many things? Are they closing this many deals?
Right.
Or
So really, a better definition of leadership may be: leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others to what I want as a leader. Because I went through and became ordained. And I went through 3 years of school to be an ordained deacon for the Episcopal Church, and I didn't open a book. Boy, they were books to read, books to read, books to read. What I paid attention to is what the egos of each of the instructors were looking for. And I played to those egos. I didn't maximize my effort. I gave it very little, right? And that's just the truth, because I knew what they wanted. There was a theology class, and this young priest was not concerned about theology. He was concerned about having us understand his theology. So the papers that I wrote, so the things that I did for that class to get flying colors was not to open a book, all these different books they had us buy on theology. It was to listen to what he wanted, and then I gave him what he wanted. And the paper agreed with, quote unquote, his theology, not necessarily theology. Okay? So I look at the team that I have now. Do I maximize their efforts? The answer is no. I try to maximize their efforts to my goal as a leader, to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. What would be different if I tried to maximize their efforts? First, I'd have to know what their maximum effort is.
Yeah.
You would have to have an employee or somebody who's following you, a teammate, whatever the case may be open enough to say, listen, I'm going to give you, you're going to pay me for 40 hours. I'm going to give you about 15 of solid work. I just want you to know.
So standard retail.
Yeah. So I want you to know where I'm at, right? And that's my maximum effort that I'm willing to give you. Okay. Where on the other hand, I may have another teammate over here go, listen, I absolutely am passionate about all this stuff. I'm going to give you 80 hours a week. You're going to pay me for 40, because that's the kind of effort that I'm going to give you. So how is it then that as a leader, we could maximize the efforts of others if we don't know what their maximum effort is? Good morning, Shayna. She says,
here comes Shayna.
If you assume noble intent from the adults you want to influence, they are more likely to, quote unquote, play up. They did some cool psych experiments in the classroom, telling the teacher she was working with gifted children. The result was measurable, right? To, quote unquote, play up. So she felt that because they were, quote unquote, gifted, that they had there was a higher maximum effort level?
I would like to find out more about that study, because I can see how that really could play into the way a teacher teaches, because we have a tendency to stereotype everybody, not just a teacher stereotype. Being around educators my entire coaching career, and spending some time subbing, one of the most negative places in the world is the teacher's lounge.
Uh-huh.
And, you come into the teacher's lounge and you hear what's going on with their thoughts about the kids. And when we can go into the classroom with no expectations, I think we can do great things. Or if we go in with high expectations, like you're talking about this study, that'd be very cool.
There you go. So in my quest for this today, of course, I did some reading. And how do we maximize the efforts of others? And that's a challenging. It's a real challenging question. Now, Derek Bear with the Bear Facts on Guns, you'll see him this Thursday at 6 p.m. right here, 216 The Net, and of course, owner leader of Gold Shield Services, some ownership here at 216 The Net, which is great. Ask him. I want to say it's a rhinoceros. It's a rhinoceros picture or an elephant picture, one of them. And here's the intent behind the story. And Derek, if you're listening, and I'm butchering this, help me out. But they had a trainer come in, leadership trainer or something. I don't know exactly the entire story. But he sat down with the team, the leadership team there at Gold Shield, and said, "Hey, I need you to draw me an elephant to the best of your ability. Draw me an elephant." And so the team goes to work and draws an elephant. Now, of course, you can imagine that each elephant looked a little bit different sizes, different shapes.
Right.
Some may have been cartoony. Some may have been real well. And then he said, "Okay, that's wonderful. How do you think we did?" "Oh yeah, they're laughing a little bit. Great, whatever." And then the trainer says, "Okay." He hands them a picture of an elephant and says, "I want you to make an exact copy of this elephant. I don't care if you trace, I don't care, but I want it to be 3 inches long, 2.5 inches high, whatever."
Right.
Right? Got very, very specific and detailed on what it is that he expected the elephant to look like. And of course, some traced the elephant, and others drew it, and these elephants all came out to look pretty much the same because the directions were clear and simple, right? And to the point. Here's what I need you to do. And the bottom line is, "Hey, Gary, good evening. Hopefully you had a great Monday. Let us know if anything exciting happened today. Appreciate it." It's time traveling.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think that the way to maximize the effort of others is to give that clear and simple direction, right? A lot of times when we miss the mark, you've done it in soccer where you've drawn up a last second play, or in basketball, whatever, and you're like, "Hey, everybody understand?" "Yeah, coach." "All right, break." And they go out and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, "Y'all said you
I just
understand."
showed you.
So I think we have to go back to leadership as being a process, not a person.
Right.
And if you understand the processes and you understand how to give that simple and clear direction, that'll maximize everybody's effort.
I'm going to go back to my first mission as a second lieutenant. I'd just come out of the infantry officer basic course, officer candidate school, infantry officer basic. I'm the lieutenant. I am the platoon leader. Let's go do this mission. I put my mission together, my operations order. I delivered my operations order. It was good. It it was good because I was good. I know I was good because they pinned the Distinguished Graduate Award on me. I was a top guy. And we failed so miserably at that mission. I mean, it was just absolutely, I'm pulling my hair out. I mean, I'm waiting to get my butt handed to me by the commander in a few minutes. I'm trying to, what happened in this mission? So I got my sergeants together. I'm like, what happened? Well, this is what you said, sir. I'm not, no, that's not what I said. Well, that's what I heard. And I'm like, is it possible the way I said it wasn't, exactly the way I meant it? So I went back to my operations orders, and we went through each piece of this. Yeah, everything that I had written, while it was clear in my mind, it wasn't clear in theirs. And the way I presented it with authoritarian and style, they're like, I'm not going to question this.
Yeah.
Well, it started a process that we, at the end of every mission, no matter how simple it was, if it was just a one line, go do this, or a complete 5-paragraph operations order, it was like, okay, now tell me what you heard. So it started this feedback process, this feedback loop to ensure that my instructions or my mission was right. And there was many times I found out that I was the one who was all messed up. Well, even though in the beginning I was pretty sure it was them. But it brought that communication, and I think that's one of the secrets to maximizing efforts across the board is good, clear, and as you said, simple communication.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty easy. Gary says, "Hey, as I said, what happened on Monday?" He says that our Prime Minister gave his annual National Day rally speech last night, and the biggest news is that sex between males has been decriminalized.
Ooh.
Welcome into 2022. And the other news is that indoor mask wearing will no longer be necessary except for public transport, clinics, hospitals, and old folks' homes.
So we can go to Singapore now.
Well, without a mask.
Yeah.
And with your boyfriend.
Shall we?
There you go. Right. So if you want to maximize somebody's efforts, and it's really that process. I've got in my office at home, in my office here, in my office at the bank, everywhere I've got my rules for success. Get better every single day, prove them wrong, work on your weaknesses, execute what you practice, learn from greatness.
Which is why he brought me in.
That's it. Learn from your wins and losses. Number 7, I lean on a lot is practice mindfulness, right? Be right here, be present, be mindful. Believe in your team, and then learn storytelling. Now, if you don't believe in your team, you're not going to be able to give the simple, clear, concise type of I want it 3 inches by 2 inches. I want the left ear to be flapping, this type of thing. What does Shayna say? The key to moving people to uncover what drives the ego of the other. Some crave to be adored and applauded, while others choose respect and independence. Basically, the best leadership can discern at the individual level. Yes. So that's why when we talked in week 1, what is your favorite book, leadership book? You said the Bible. I said the 5 love languages, because if you don't understand what motivates, what inspires somebody, it could be a simple donut on somebody's desk. It could be an attaboy and attagirl. It could be any of the 5 love languages that fills their tank. If you don't know that from each person, then you don't know how to motivate that person. Because I can't motivate Shayna the same way that I motivate Gary, the same way that I motivate, Ted, and to you, Coach. So very, 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 very true. Now, another step to really maximizing the efforts of others is something that I believe is missed by a lot of leaders in today's world. And what's missed by a lot of leaders in today's world is the ability to inspire their team. Now, listen to what I'm saying. Not just from motivational stories or having upbeat music or free yogurt or what I mean. Those are nice things, but truly, and listen to what I'm going to say. Leading by example. Okay, lead by example. Not the fact that I'm going to be better than you and run circles around you and show, hey, I got this, and this, and look at everything that I did, Tim. Why can't you do what you're just asked to do?
Because I'm missing an arm.
Right. That's not leadership. That's braggadocious. That's micromanaging. That's horrible. But hey, if you see me cleaning the toilets because they were dirty, and not saying anything, going around saying, "Hey, didn't you see me cleaning the toilets?" If you see me being able to do what I'm asking you to do,
Right.
without complaining, bragging about it, look at me, I'm the boss, type of atmosphere.
Leadership principle number 5 of the 11 leadership principles the military bases leadership on is set the example. Since this is a core principle of leadership, if concentrating on 11 principles leaves you with a pain in your brain, then focus on setting a positive example.
Yeah.
By doing this, most of the other principles fall into place. People, as a rule, don't listen well. They do follow an example that is set for them. It's the old game of Simon Says. If you're saying one thing and doing something else, then people are going to follow your actions, not your words, even if they're somewhat confused by doing it. If you're sending the same message with your action and your words, then your employees will feel secure in your leadership and will follow you to the ends of the earth. And that's the core principle. Everything is about setting a quality example. As a commander or a sergeant in a leadership role in the military, if your waistline's getting out of check, if you're not passing the PT test at the maximum level, your unit is also going to not be following the same way. So agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and in today's world, I worked for a great guy, and he was a great producer. And he probably felt that he was leading by example, but we were in a sales atmosphere, okay? So in this sales atmosphere, as I was struggling to close, he was closing millions of dollars. And you'd go to him and be like, hey, man, hey, I'm busy, or I'm doing this, it's not that hard, look at me, And, of course, when you have a honey hole and a family that can feed you a lot of sales, that's one thing. But what he never took time to do was to come down and see where I was struggling, right? And I said, if I'm ever in that position, I'll never be competition for my team. I shouldn't be.
Right.
I should be handing things off to my team, encouraging them to get better, walking them through things. That's the key to leading by example. It's not look at me make all this money while you struggle.
Yeah.
Right. Now, look at hey, I'm sorry that I pay you minimum wage and I live on Rodeo Drive and I have a private jet and this, that, and third. You work hard enough, you'll get there someday too. Well, screw you.
When you adopt me.
Right.
Shayna says, can you be led by someone you don't respect? You can be managed by someone you don't respect.
I agree with that.
And the chances are you won't be around very long. You're going to be out looking for something else. But to be led, if you don't, respect is a key element of leadership. And if it doesn't flow both ways, then no, you can't be led. You can simply be managed.
Yeah, I agree. And the hard answer to that is no. You can't be led by someone you don't respect. And that's part of getting in the trenches, getting dirty. How do I do this? How do I show you that this can be done? How can you trust me as a leader so that you'll give me that? That's the way to do it. And I agree. She says action is not a word. boy, have we had hello.
But we don't talk about politics.
That's right. Let's go, Brandon. All right, never mind. Brandon's your son. That's what it is. The wisdom of if I can do it, anyone can. No, correct. And I mean, there's just some people who are good at things, and a lot of times, as we talked about earlier in this series, is that hey, you're my number one scorer. You're now the coach, right? Watching the great documentary on Hulu called Legacy. I'm a Lakers fan, and it's all about the Lakers. And it was talking about Jerry West being the coach, and Norm Nixon was a guard back when Jerry West was coaching the Lakers. And Norm said something very interesting. He said, usually great players make horrible coaches because they will look at your effort, they'll look at what you do and say, I did it differently. And you'll never be able to measure up. And we've seen that out of great players. That's why Michael Jordan has never coached. You can't teach that, right? And it's amazing. And, of course, probably the one great player who could just passed away recently.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell.
Larry Bird made the attempt to be a coach.
Yep.
And, he's a great owner. He was a great player. But as a coach, sometimes he struggled.
Average to below.
We've talked to you about this. I've outlined a book I want to write if I just take the time to do it. And then the title is From the End of the Bench. And from the end of the bench is where I believe the great coaches come from. The ones who have had to struggle just to sit on the bench during the play. They've been students of the game. They've had to work hard, and they see what it takes. And I believe that same thing goes for a lot of leadership wherever it falls in. Jeff Foxworthy says, I don't believe smart people ever accomplish anything because they're always thinking. The guy who goes out as a leader and he's down in the trenches and he works, sometimes have become the greatest leaders in industry and in coaching. And
This blue tabletop, whatever you believe in, whether it's round or flat, doesn't matter to me. I'm putting it out there. Is that in today's world, 2022, you're a leader, I have to like you. No. I don't have to be your friend. All I need you to do is sign my check, right? I don't need to go on vacation with you and your family. I don't need to go to lunch with you. However, I do have to look at you and go, man, even though you are a raging douchebag, I love that you work hard and you run a great company and you inspire me, every day to come in and give you 100%.
we're just not going to hang out after work.
Right. Right. I don't understand why a lot of leaders, quote unquote leaders, feel the need to, hey, let's go grab a drink after work. Let's be buddies. In all my leadership positions, it takes a special type of teammate that can separate that business from work, and they're few and far between.
I want to go back to one of the comments earlier and talk about a young man up at Wilmot High School right now. Wonderful athlete. He's had the opportunity and has been courted by several colleges to go play football. One of them being Kansas, Division I school, full rights scholarship.
Yeah.
He's talking to his mom after the game on Friday night, which the Panthers won 24-7. And this young man was instrumental in that win on the defense. And his mom said he chose Illinois State. Why did you choose Illinois State over Kansas when he had a full ride opportunity? Well, as he got to know the coaches, the coach at Illinois State was a linebacker in college, was a linebacker coach at a Division I college, was the defensive coach at a Division I college, and now is the head coach for ISU. The head coach has a defensive mindset, and this young man is a defender, and he wanted to go where he believed in the coach, not where he could get the most accolades. So for a young senior in high school, and this kid is a jock. I mean, he's your classic run
Good
through the
kid,
wall,
right?
yes coach kind of guy.
1980s villain. Yeah. Movie villain.
But he's done a great job of taking the time to decide where he wanted to be based on who the leader was,
Sure.
not based on what the program was.
Sure. Of course, we're just past the bottom of the hour, and we wanted to just give a quick shout out to our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center. Check them out at www.mchenrymassage.com. Give them a call, 815-385-8190. And they just tell them you heard it right here on Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
Why did I almost said 216 the net?
That's good. Right here, let them know because we do love them, appreciate them, and they've just been great friends to us over the years. So check them out for sure. This week is, of course, a busy week, being the fourth week. Tuesday evening, we've got a Let Me Tell You Something Brother with Tim and Tom talking about wrestling, all-star wrestling, all that good stuff. Sports entertainment. We've got Wednesday, the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dean. If I can get in touch with him, I think he's gallivanting around Europe right now with his beautiful family because that's where his wife is from. And if we can get a hold of him, that could be a fun show. If not, we'll just we'll do a rerun. He'll come back when he's back in and ready. Thursday evening, of course, at 6 is the Bare Facts on Guns. A lot of interesting things happening with gun laws, gun control, and a lot of news on our good friend Alec Baldwin. It's always a hot spot for Derek, which is always good. And then, of course, Friday we start with the grounds. Coach may be sitting in. Scott's out in Las Vegas this week, away on business. Or we may get him in remote. We don't know. But anyway, the grounds is 7:30 to 8:30. Then the bridging civil tension. And then we've got Mary Shep's My Loso Lifestyle, the Neighborhood Pulse. We've got In the Know with Steph and Joe, which is absolutely fantastic. So a lot of good things happening.
On Wednesday, around lunchtime, I will be doing a lunch and learn for the McHenry Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
The old combat brain training.
No, that's exciting.
It
I was
is
going to bring that up.
really exciting. John, the founder, and I have really been communicating at a high level, working to get this program moving in the right direction and finding coaches and trainers to work with us to expand our
Web.
our web, inspiring them to maximize their potential.
Nice. That's good stuff. I, of course, won't be at that lunch and learn on account of I've got, of course, at noon on Wednesday is questions 12:30 questions you never thought you could ask at church, and of course Wednesday morning. Bill Hossey should be back. Great show last week with Deb sitting in.
I had a great time.
And thank you, of course, and thanks for all the thoughts and prayers. Doing well, very, very healthy. Got hit with the COVID last Monday evening, and it was like getting hit by a dump truck.
Yeah, and we were at the show. We were at the studio on Monday morning, and he calls me up and he goes, "It's just a sinus infection." And Tuesday morning, I tested positive, now I'm just waiting for the symptoms to hit. But fortunately, I never did. I think that's why last week the keyboard wasn't working, so you actually did the show
to sit
from
over there.
back here. So
it's God's way of saying,
he had my back.
Step away. Taking care of you and Dennis, which is great. Talking everything about leadership. This is part number 4 in the series. We'll wrap it up next Tuesday as we kind of put it all together. But we're talking about maximizing the efforts of others. So maximizing the efforts of others and maybe how to do that and how not to do that. And what does Shana say there?
She says, "I've seen a longing to be just one of the guys, or at least what they romanticize it was before they got to the top." I've actually, I wrote an article, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but it really talks about that same point, that new manager who gets hired, and he goes for the position because as an employee, he saw the things that needed to change. But when he got into management, the first thing they said to him is, "You're not one of the guys anymore. you're going to have to fire some of them, and if you like them, you won't fire them. And the whole point of it goes into what you're going, Shayna, is you're not one of the guys anymore. However, you can still connect with them, and it's a fine line. It is a really fine line, but at the end of the day, I've produced in several different roles and leadership roles as a plant manager, as a company commander, as a platoon leader, as a varsity soccer coach. There's a moment in time, and soccer is really easy. I had this purple floppy hat. You've seen it, my Relay for Life cancer hat. And at the beginning of the season, I make it very clear to them, when the hat's on, we're goofing around, we're having a good time. When the hat's off, it's business. And so they had a clear message that if I didn't have the hat on, we're in business, we're in training.
Yeah.
If the hat's on, we can go out and play around. And they got that message very well. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the roles, they don't have that clear definition of it. Now it's work, now it's play. When you go out to dinner with the boss and you have a few too many cocktails, that activity out to dinner is going to affect your role in the workplace. It can't be helped. You've got to be able to identify and separate the two, and unfortunately, you just don't get to hang out anymore. It's just kind of the way it is.
I will tend to disagree with that.
Please do.
And here's why. And we talked about it a lot in the first week of this, is that just because if you're a quote-unquote leader, you shouldn't change who you are. A title shouldn't change who you are, okay? What happens is I'm sitting with the CEO, hey, man, Kent, you're going to get promoted. You're going to be the head of this. Okay, let's do it. You can't be one of the guys anymore. But wait a minute. What's got me here and got your attention is my ability to connect and who I am. Is that true or is it not true? But we don't say that to the CEO. We say, you know what? Yeah, okay. Let me get a new briefcase. Let me get a clean shirt and a tie now. I never wore a tie. Now let me play, quote unquote, air quotes, the part of this. And here's the bottom line, is the C-suite. You are who you are. You are who God made you. You are, and that's the part of what's gotten you to where you want to get. Yeah. Right? My children, my athletes that I coach absolutely adore me because I'm real. I don't pull punches. I don't candy coat things. In business, I'm as goofy as I am on air in the boardroom.
I have worked for him, and I can verify.
Yeah, this is who I am. You can't change who I am. Now, do I understand and did I learn at a very young age? You're not the first at the bar, and you're not the last one, and you're never asking your team to hold my hair while I throw up, right?
Which is why his hair is all gone.
Right? You can't be. Now, if I want to go on tie one on, I'm going to go do it with someone else other than my team. And lo and behold, I am not going to do this. Now, I've had situations as a quote unquote leader of a department or a leader of a branch or things like that, where they say, hey, how would you like to do this weekend? Who I report to. And I go, sounds like fun in the back of my head. At the same time, sounds very awkward and like I won't really enjoy it because I'll have to be on guard or do this or do this. So I respectfully decline. I would love to. The family's got, something going on. What it is, I don't know. Maybe we're cleaning dishes. But the idea is I haven't put myself into a position where on a weekend I'm just hanging out on a one-on-one basis with my leader, quote unquote. All right, and you can't do that.
Well, and unfortunately, in today's world, it's been expanded by social media. That maybe I'm not hanging out with you, but I'm going to go be an idiot on social media that's going to come back and impact me as well. So, you either get off it or
Yeah. Now, again, as Shana says, I've never seen anyone be authentic on the you dealing side of things. When the fun boss is around, it's not realistic. Well, here's the truth. Depends on how you build the team. Yeah. I tell people right up front when I'm interviewing them, or if we're going to work together, I tell them first thing, I don't sign your check. So we work together. Okay? Yep. You don't work for me. We work together. We're going to be on a team. Second is you'll never work for anybody like me again in your entire career. There's a couple reasons. Number one is that I'm not perfect, okay, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to need you to catch me on some of those mistakes. And number two, and number two is, yeah, that is four. And number two is I genuinely give a shit about you and your family. I want you to win. I want you to be happy here, and I want you to make money. If you can't do that here, then I've failed as a leader, okay? And these are things that I say before I even hire people. And you know what? I have people who worked with me on my teams from the early 2000s, from the 1990s, who still will reach out to me and be like, man, I remember this about you. I remember this. Thanks for this. I now see this. Hey, I just had a kid. Those type of things, right? Because I genuinely do give a shit, right? Yeah. And anybody who works with me, anybody who's in business with me, knows I want to win. And knows that if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. I don't try to make things up. Hey, we got to get to this level. I don't know how to get us there. Anybody got an idea?
Help me out here.
Right? When I'm coaching basketball, and I'm working with 12 and 13-year-old girls, and we're getting our butts whooped, I just stop and I go, does anybody see anything out there? Girls, you're out there playing. What's happening? How can we? And they start looking at you like, oh, maybe I should be paying attention on what could work or what couldn't work.
Number 10's doing everything. If we shut down number 10, then I've done that throughout my entire coaching career. And that's one thing. We actually teach that in the coaching licensing in soccer is coach, you're on the sideline. You have a skewed view of what's really happening out there. You need to communicate with your players and find out what they're seeing if you want to really be successful.
Yeah.
And then listen to them.
But, going back to what she said here, when the fun boss is around, but at the same time, I've got to be able to say to the team, listen, hey, we've got to put the Nerf balls away here for a minute, Yeah. We've got to turn off the music, whatever. We're getting close to this deadline. We're nowhere near where we need to be, or it's been a rough month or whatever the case may be. And then, boom, right? We got to get serious, and then we attack for a while. But again, it's the transparency, and I don't even like that word, transparency. No, this is who I am. You're not going to see. You're not going to have to sit there and go, man, this guy's kind of crazy. I've watched a few of his shows, and he's outspoken, and and he doesn't do that at work. He's just a jerk. I mean, what you see with me is what you get, and I tell people that right up front, and I tell them, I'm like, you're going to see things, things from your experiences, from your other jobs, from things that are going to help me and this team get better.
One of my favorite timeout huddle sessions, and I don't do it every game. But on games where the athletes are just being kind of discombobulated out there, we call timeout, and they come in the circle, and they're looking at me and say, so who's up for ice cream after the game tonight? And they're like, oh, yeah, I am. What's your favorite flavor? This one kid, I call him mint ice cream forever because they eat mint ice cream. Right? Awesome. Let's go out there and earn some ice cream. I don't need to tell them. I just need to get their brains calmed down. And the first time they'll look at me like, what? Aren't you supposed to tell us what? No, you know what to do. Right. You've been practicing it, and you know it. Right. You're just you're overthinking everything right now.
Way overthinking a lot of times.
And the same thing happens in business. Shana says, I've been out for a while. Do managers look for connection outside of the workday now? not really sure I fully understand.
Well, to your point, let's go out for ice cream or let's go grab a beer. Do our managers today looking for the connection outside of the workday? Workday's over, yabba dabba doo. The horn blows. We scroll down the back of the dinosaur, jump in our car. Are we headed out to bowling league together?
One of the groups I worked for every Thursday night was what's the wings place over here?
Jexel's?
Not Jexel's. The
Buffalo?
Buffalo Wild Wings. We had a Buffalo Wild Wings, and every Thursday night was Buffalo Wild Wings, and he bought you the number of baskets of the sales you made that day. So you made 2 sales that day, you got 2 5-wing baskets, and it was just kind of that thing. Fortunately, I never had less than 2 5-wing baskets I had to share with a lot of people, but it was just a fun night. But his interaction, as I look back at, was just to buy the stuff. The best interaction came between the members of the team.
Yeah, managers, some do, and depends on, I guess, the place and what you're trying to get them to do. I guess.
How did we get to the last 10 minutes of the show today?
Is the way I would say that. Yeah.
It's we're in that last 10 minutes. Kind of wrap things down for the week. Next week we will, try to bring this all full circle in leadership, the true benefits of leadership, the definition that we've created for leadership. It may not be the accepted Webster dictionary definition, but I think there's a lot to be said by working and understanding people to maximize the effort. Can we actually put our foot on the gas pedal and maximize effort? No. But I think, from my perspective, we can give them every opportunity, but they have to be inspired.
Yeah. So leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others. I think what we have to lean on to get the maximum effort from an individual is, number one, it's a process, and it's like being a good leader is like a good recipe, right? Is I have to have a process, and if I understand the processes and we can perfect this process, then you're going to know which cog, So Joe from Restoration One, in the know with Steph and Joe always say, it's the machine spits out a widget. Well, if one of these cogs gets jammed up, it stops spitting out widgets. Each person on your team is one of those cogs, and they have to understand the importance of what they do. The other way to maximize efforts, and we can talk about this next week as well as we wrap it up. But what happens is in the business world, and listen to what I'm going to say here, folks. What happens in the business world is we stop educating and practicing.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, you're an accountant. Great. You've got your MBA in accountingship, right? Great. I have him come in, and I don't challenge him to continue to learn and get better. Or we now have online training, which are absolutely not good, but so that we could tell auditors, yes, we did this training. Everybody did it on time. It's now a checklist. So there's nothing that we don't go over. Man, when we were young, back in the 90s, the 80s, it was role play. Oh, everybody hates role play. But you know how good people got?
Yeah.
Why do the sports teams practice for hours for a 90-minute game? I mean, right? Months, hours.
Do you have
for a 90-minute game.
that play that you've practiced 1,000 times, but you've never used it, and you couldn't figure out, why do we always practice this play? And then that game comes up where the game's on the line, and you put that play in, and all of a sudden you won the game, and you understand why all those moments paid off.
Yeah. Right? In the professional world, if you want to maximize the efforts of others, is you got to continually train, educate. That's what inspires people. That's what motivates them to give them your best, right?
Yes, I agree, but I also know that training just to training can suck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just to say you've done it. That's why I say.
HR says you have to do all of this training, and when I was working for you at the bank, they had me going through training that was more advanced than what I was. I was still coming in.
Check off.
I had to check off the box on the training, and I was like, I just stopped taking notes, and I'm an avid note taker. I just took a note on what you said, Shane. I would read a book highlighting wisdom from the huddle. I just put that in the phone. I think that's brilliant idea. Get a bunch of coaches together, and wouldn't it be nice in life to have a huddle? All right, everybody, the pandemic's winning right now. Let's get together and have a huddle and drop a play to.
Well, right, but it's also as a leader, how do I inspire you to do that training and take it seriously? Yeah. I'm like, oh God, get through this. We need to get through this. You just listen. It's going to take 10 minutes. Click, take the test, and we're through. Right. However, if it's here's a situation, then it's a whole different thing. This machine goes down. We're in the middle of a project. How do the deadline's looming? How do we hit the deadline?
Well, in the banking world, what do you do in the case of a robbery? And everybody's just like, oh yeah, right. They go through it. When you see that piece, how do you feel?
Yeah, well, the amazing thing is I went through all those trainings, and it was like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then when I was held at gunpoint, I was like, whoa, I knew everything to do and how to do it. And,
all of a sudden, it became important.
Yeah, the FBI even said, man, you did a really good job. Thanks.
You're here to tell about it. That's the best thing you did.
That's right. So I think to maximize, I have to be willing to invest as a leader in you, not necessarily on the personal side of things, like, hey, let's go and play some poker together. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I have to invest in you to say, I want you to have my job, or I want to report to you. I want to know what your dreams and goals are and why you're here. Okay, it's a stepping stone. You're only here for so long. Good. I want to use you for a while. I got you then. Mm-hmm. How do I help you get to that level? I think to maximize. I mean, the bottom line is, as a leader, if you want to maximize the efforts of others, you genuinely have to give a shit. You genuinely.
There's a lot of wisdom in there.
Yeah, and if you don't, then people see right through that and go, "What a jerk."
He doesn't care about me.
Right. What a jerk. I don't care if your dog got run over. Get to work. Right. It happens. So.
Situation just recently where at a healthcare facility, senior healthcare facility. The girl called the manager and said, "Manager, I've got pink eye. I shouldn't come in." The manager says, "You need to come to work. You can go to the doctor later." And she's like, "Okay." Manager told her. She came in. Well, there's a nurse at the facility. She came in. Nurse took one look at her and said, "You got pink eye. You can't be here." Well, the manager's like, "Well, why can't she be here?" She goes, the pink eye is one of the most contagious things out there. Right. But it's just, lack of information, lack of compassion. Lack of passion is...
That's it. It's the absence of passion. Yeah. So, listen, every leader is different, and if you have a leader, it's truly up to you to maximize your efforts as a team player, as a person, whether it's in a relationship, a marriage, a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, a friendship. There's only one person who can maximize your efforts, and that's you. Amen. What are you willing to give to that? And today, we see people who don't want to maximize their effort, and that's why I think the world is the way the world is.
Well, and I know we're in this last minute, but all the stay-at-home workers during the pandemic don't want to go back to the physical building. And in some aspects, they found out they're more efficient doing that. So the whole business world is in turmoil right now. if everyone stays at home, do we need to own this high rise in Chicago?
The answer is no.
So it's been thanks for getting caught in the net with two
bald guys and a microphone.
Next week we will wrap up leadership, bring to bear any questions you have that maybe we haven't answered in the first 4 weeks here, but I think that we've got we've got an opportunity to really make a difference.
That's it. Of course, thanks for starting your Monday off, your week off right with two bald guys and a microphone. We love being here Monday mornings. And if there's anything we can do, like, follow, share, subscribe, push. Appreciate it, folks.
It's time to get off the bench and get back in the game.